Welcome back to the 127 Fit podcast. Today's guest is a musician and songwriter. Today's guest is Mawule. Mawule, I want to welcome you to the 127 Fit podcast.
Thank you for having me.
For sure, my man. So we are going to just jump right into things. I've got 4 questions I like to start off each podcast with. The first question, Mawule, that I have for you is, how do you start your day? Do you have a specific morning routine or morning ritual that you like to stick to on most mornings?
Most mornings I like to start my day kind of waking up at 5:30, starting my day with a stretch, and depending on time, I like to go to the gym, get a quick workout in, or just eat a good breakfast and start my day that way.
Okay, perfect. Now, in regards to kind of like that movement, or the stretching and the workout. Let's start with the stretch first. What is that kind of like maybe like a yoga pose? What does that stretch look like? And then when you make it to the gym in the mornings or just even throughout your day, what is your gym workout kind of look like?
My gym workout, I don't try to do full body every time because that kind of drains me, and oftentimes after I get out of the gym, if I do a full body early in the morning, I want to go to sleep.
Right.
And so I just like to do cardio.
Okay,
just start with cardio, an hour or 30 minutes of cardio.
Okay,
just to get my lungs and my body and my eyes awake,
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then what is kind of the stretch or the stretching look like for you in the morning?
Stretching, just kind of basic stretches, no yoga poses or anything, just kind of leg extensions, stretching out my legs, stretching out my arms, just getting some mobility and flexibility back in my body.
Very good. The next question that I have for you, Mawule, is, do you have a favorite book or book that you like to gift often?
A favorite book, or I guess current book that I'm reading right now, is called It Didn't Start With You.
Okay.
And that book is about essentially inherited trauma that's passed around within families and how to understand you and who you are based on any family trauma that might have happened. And so it's by Mawule, and it's a great book. I highly recommend it. I haven't finished it yet, but so far I like it.
Okay, cool. Now, from that specific book, is there, and you just said that you haven't finished it yet, but up to this point, what's kind of like maybe one, valuable thing that you have kind of gained, or maybe like a nugget that you've gained up to this point from the book?
I think a great nugget is how essentially things that are happening in my life can, so for me, traumatic things are like injuries, for example, like sports injuries, and how that's affecting me right now. I think something that I've realized is how some of these things can transfer to kids that I may have, and they might not inherently know where it's starting from. And so that's been the cool thing to realize in the book.
Awesome.
How we can pass down trauma.
I love
to
it.
Our kids.
Yeah, and that's I'm sure that's a topic we'll probably try to come back to later on as we kind of dig more into your story specifically. So that's cool. That sounds like an awesome read.
Yeah.
Now, the next question that I have for you is, is there a favorite quote, mantra, or word? Now, as I was preparing for our podcast conversation today, I was looking at your social media. I was looking at your Instagram, and one of your recent posts, I think it was actually January 1st of this year, you had written, at some point, you just have to let go of what you thought should happen and live in what is happening. So, if you don't mind, we'll just kind of take that quote or that saying, and I would just love to have you kind of expound and explain a little bit more in depth what that means personally to you.
Yeah, so I found that quote and it really resonated with me because going into the new year, I'm a planner, I'm a futuristic thinker, and so I think a lot of the times, kind of when you think about your goals, you want to set your goals and all of that. But sometimes I think if you're not living in the moment, it kind of takes you away from being present in your day and recognizing the opportunities that are presented to you. And so when I found that quote, it really resonated with me because in the new year, I want to be very present in my day, and I want to be present in what is happening within my life and live according to that.
Awesome. Now, when you find, Mawule, that you are kind of maybe looking into the future and you maybe are starting to worry a little bit and kind of get concerned maybe about something or some things, Do you find yourself to get a little bit anxious? So maybe this mindset shift of like, hey, it's great to plan, it's great to have goals, but in order for me to get to tomorrow, I need to make it through today. So kind of shifting your mindset of really focusing on the present. Is that going to really help you maybe eliminate some of that anxiousness or anxious thoughts that maybe you've had in the past?
Yes, I think it has already, because just living in each day, I think I'm recognizing more how valuable each day is. And then most important, just the people that are around you. I find myself being present more in conversations, not thinking about what I'm about to do next or what needs to happen tomorrow, but just being present in the conversations and the people that I'm interacting with and the people around me.
Awesome, my man. Okay, so the last question that I have for you, do you have a favorite or most listened to podcast? And if there's more than one, please feel free to share.
I think one of my favorites right now that I really like to listen to is called Imperfect Actions, by Brock Edwards. And I really like that podcast. I was featured in the podcast, but I really like the podcast because it really features inspiring people who are living their life differently, or have found some purpose or meaning in the things that they're passionate about. And so I love listening to that podcast because I love listening to other people's life story, their journeys, and that's what that podcast is all about. And that title is kind of perfect.
Beautiful, yeah.
Imperfect Actions.
Cool. Now, kind of branching off just for a moment in regards to the favorite or most listened to podcast, is there maybe somebody out there, maybe on YouTube or, on Instagram out there on social media that's maybe a person that you really enjoy listening to in regards to maybe some motivation, inspiration, something like that?
Will Smith.
Will Smith? Cool. Yeah, for sure.
Believe it or not, Will Smith, and I recently just posted a video of him talking about why he engages in social media more than he did ever before. And I like listening to him because, obviously he's a celebrity, everybody loves him, but every day, or at least a lot of times when he's posting things, he's posting like motivational things or kind of things that people should think about as they live their life when they wake up every day. And so it's just inspiring to hear his side of the story, and he's also very vulnerable about challenges that he experiences. And I think a lot of times we think about people like him not having any challenges because they might be super wealthy or whatever, but it just kind of shows that no matter where you are in life, there's things going on that we all have to learn to balance, and we all have to learn to navigate. And so yeah, he's definitely one person that I like listening to a lot.
Cool. I love that. Will Smith, man. That's some old school stuff right there, right?
Yeah.
I love it. All right, so Mawule, we're gonna just kind of take a step into your childhood, your upbringing. Yeah. Again, as I was doing some research and preparing for this conversation with you, I learned that you were born and raised up until the age of 10 in Ghana. Then you moved to Denver. So I'm just really interested in hearing about kind of those earlier years in Ghana and then that transition to Denver. And then we'll just kind of continue to unpack and unfold your story.
Yeah, so I was born and grew up in Ghana. And I came here in the 2000s, and my family moved here because my dad was living in Colorado at the time. So my mom and my brother at the time, we moved here to kind of join him. But Ghana is kind of where my roots are from. I love every aspect of my culture. I feel like a lot of the times I'm able to have deeper understanding and deeper meaning of just how I live my life based on my cultural upbringing there. Not necessarily to say that I'm very Americanized, but I'm also very Ghanaian to my core in who I am and what I believe. Yeah. And so I love having that duality within my identities. And so, growing up in Ghana at the time, it's a much developed country right now. But back in the day when I was there, I think I learned to value my life because water wasn't very accessible back there. We could be sitting in a room like this and the electricity would go off, and you'll be thinking, oh, when's the power coming back on? And you never knew when the power was coming back on. And so I think going through experiences like that, you do learn to value the simple things like being able to walk in a room and turn on the light and know that it's not going to go off.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you pay your bills.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think that upbringing in Ghana definitely reshaped my lens of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also a reason why I'm a very mindful person within each and every day of my life.
Mm-hmm. Now, in regards to being in Ghana, was there like a specific reason that your dad came over to the United States? Was there like a war going on, or was it just the simple fact of trying to better his family's lives, things like that? What was kind of the impetus or the reason behind your dad first coming over and then you guys following suit?
Yeah, my dad's a smart man. He got a scholarship to Princeton.
Great, wow.
A full ride to Princeton. And so he was in Princeton doing his master's, and after completing his master's, transitioned to Denver, Colorado to the Ivy School of Theology for his PhD. And so that was what kind of made the transition for him, is just education.
Yeah.
And wanting that better education. My dad's always been an intelligent individual, and so education is very much also rooted in my life, my brothers, my siblings, and all of that. So
for sure.
Yeah.
Wow, cool. Okay, before we kind of move off, your first 10 years in Ghana, I know you had mentioned, you really learned to value like your life when you were over in Ghana, maybe really appreciate some of the finer things or the smaller things in life, so to speak. So, what is like that one kind of like memory that you have in terms or in regards to your time in Ghana before you moved over to the States? Like, is there one kind of memory that's really etched in your mind from those first 10 years?
Yeah, so this kind of goes back to why I like to live in the present, and I think oftentimes when I forget to live in the present, that's always been a value of mine, and so I always find some way to go back to that. And so thinking about a story, so my last day in Ghana, before sitting on a plane for the first time to fly over here, my best friend, my brother, and a couple of other friends, after school, we didn't take the bus home, and our travel back to home was about a 30-mile walk.
Wow.
And so we took that journey. We took that 30-mile walk, just kind of soaking in my last day with my friends, my brother's last day with our crew. And at the time, we didn't know this, but we should have been home, and we weren't home, and it was about to get dark. And so my cousins and my aunties, everybody was just going everywhere looking for us. While on our end, we were just having a blast, enjoying our days. In Ghana, you will find mango trees just like randomly everywhere, and so we were eating everything that we could find. And so that I remember that very vividly. Not for the fact that safety was a concern for my family, but the fact that I was living in the present with my friends and just enjoying my last time that was going to be it for a while with my best friends.
Beautiful, man. I love that. That's great. Yeah. 30 miles of walking, huh?
Yeah.
You definitely got your exercise in for that day, right?
We sure did.
Cool. All right. So you come over to Denver, you come to Colorado at the age of 10. Yeah. What were those, 10 is, you're starting to get closer to those tween years, the middle school years. Yeah. For a lot of us, the middle school years and even, most of the high school years can be, a tough time, kind of, just dealing with different things, some awkwardness, growth, all that. Yeah. I can't even imagine spending, your first 10 years in a country and then going to another country. So for you, what was that transition like? Coming to Denver at the age of 10?
I think that what made my transition easy was the fact that English was one of the first languages that a lot of people had to learn in Ghana.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, and so coming to America, it was more British English that I knew. So I had to kind of change. I had to learn the American English, and let go of the British language, English, and then the British terms. And so that made my transition a lot easy. The fact that I could speak that language and I could speak it fluently.
For sure.
And so with that, the things that made it easy for me was just like the culture. And so for me, School was a little different. Going to school, sitting in the classroom with only, I would say, 15 students. That was not the reality for me in Ghana. And so that was like a little adjustment at first. And also at the same time, culturally, it was a new environment for me that I liked it.
Yeah.
You know, I liked it, but learning how to make friends all over again. And then at the same time, my parents both had 2 jobs when we moved over here. And so, and I had a sibling that I had to take care of. So I was also kind of in a parental role, babysitting role at the time. And so that was some things that I had to realize quickly, that as a 10-year-old, my reality and my responsibilities look different from a lot of my peers. Who may also have siblings, but weren't in that sort of, mom and dad got to go to work, so you got to stay home and still help take care of your brother, who my brother at the time was like 4 years old. And so that was like a huge transition for me of learning how to really grow up at a really young age.
Now, how many siblings do you have?
I have 2 now. I have a sister who was born here, and she is 16 now.
Okay, awesome. So, you know, were sports a part of kind of your life as a young person? I'm assuming over in Ghana, soccer was probably like life, right? Yeah. And then did that kind of translate when you came to the United States? Did soccer also play a big part of your life? And then were there some other sports interspersed in there as well?
Yeah, soccer was my life. Yeah, like you said, soccer was my life in Ghana, and soccer is pretty much life for all African, European countries, you know, except America. I think it's growing here though, which has been nice to see. And so I played more middle school. I played soccer, and that was kind of how I was known. Within middle school, transition to high school is just like a good soccer player.
Yeah.
And I went to a really diverse school, and there was a lot of Africans in my school as well. And so, you know, that's how I made easy friends and bonded with a lot of my peers, is just through the art of, you know, playing soccer. Yeah. And so I played soccer all through middle school, all through high school. I played my first year in college, but stopped. And then within that, I also played baseball. Cool. And those were kind of like the 2 sports that I stuck to. High school, I played kind of at the high school level, and then on the offset on springtime, I would play for Colorado Fusion. I don't think the organization exists anymore. I think they've shifted, but I played club soccer as well. Cool.
Now, was soccer, you know, Mawule, was soccer kind of like an outlet or maybe an escape for you for maybe some of those pressures of, you know, taking care of the younger siblings, and just really kind of having to adjust to a new life in Colorado, and, you know, some different pressures maybe that you were going through? Was soccer kind of that escape and that outlet for you when you were younger?
It was, because I had, like I said, I had a lot of friends that played it, and so for me it was, and I'm still good at soccer. I'm not as great as I used to be. Right. Yeah. But I was really good, and so it was freedom for me to be on the field, to put on my soccer cleats, do some of the routine exercises. It was like a flashback, you know, to Ghana. For sure. That's where I picked up the talent to play soccer, and so anytime I got to put on my cleats and set on the field was a joyous time for me. For sure. It was a good escape, and it was truly an escape from reality, because soccer wasn't reality. When you're good at something, sometimes it comes easy. Yeah, for sure. You don't think about the reality of it. Right. So it was an escape for me. Cool.
Yeah, it's kind of like, you know, like you just mentioned, when you're good at something, it's almost like, and you know, when you're good at something and it kind of comes natural, or you've been doing it from a very young age, it's almost like you enter into that, what they call the flow state, right? It's just like, it's kind of like that second nature, and it's like, man, I don't have to think about, you know, this or that. Sometimes, like, you have to do navigating your life and the world, but you know, like, getting into that flow state, I think, is helpful for us, just again to kind of like, we don't have to think, we don't have to, like, you know, like, oh, is it this or that? It's like, no, you just get in that flow state because it's kind of natural. And I think, you know, you hear sports, you know, athletes, talk about that. Sometimes you'll hear entrepreneurs, business people talk about that. But I think probably that's something maybe that you were experiencing, was maybe just that flow state of like, man, this is kind of where I get my joy. This is where I can kind of check out for a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's cool to hear.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about just kind of like the academic side of things, because of your dad's opportunity to come to the States and go to an Ivy League school, and just his desire to be very well educated. Was that something, I'm assuming, that was very strongly encouraged in your family to really pursue academics?
Yeah. Yeah, I think not even just strongly. I think when you kind of grow up knowing that your dad's a smart person and also went to an Ivy League school, it's like the expectations are high, and
Yeah.
I think a lot of times, even if he didn't put that pressure on us, we put that pressure on ourselves.
Okay,
'Cause,
yeah.
we wanted to represent our family and our legacy, and also not make his hard work go in vain.
Yeah.
And so education was always a focus, even when at times during my high school years, soccer was becoming more of like if I were to pursue this more, I could look into professional soccer. Education never left myself or my brother's mindset of something that we would forego to pursue, a professional career within soccer. Because my brother was also very good at soccer. And so, yeah, it was always our foundation, no matter what else was going on in our life. Not because our dad was smart, but because we learned the value of education, and we learned the value of what it could mean for us to be well educated, to have both, a high school degree, a college degree. Both my brother and I have master's degrees.
Yeah.
And so it was never something that we took for granted.
For sure. Now, what was kind of like, what was that message, and not necessarily academically, but as you look back on your childhood, what was kind of that purveying message from your dad specifically? Was it always, the education thing, or was there maybe like a saying, was there just like that one message that he really ingrained in your mind and your siblings' minds as you guys were growing up?
I wouldn't say it's a message, but it's more of like the effort, because when we moved here, my dad, for example, was working on his PhD, and then had 2 jobs, and then my mom also had a job on that, and so just seeing him work hard, to not only pursue his education but work 2 jobs to provide for us, it was inspiring to see. And then also at the same time, for my brother and I, we also said, we don't want to struggle that much to provide for our family. And so it was more, he set a good example for us. And at the time, it's hard to pay for your student loans and have 3 kids that you have to take care of in a family. And so just like watching by example was really the message that we needed to be focused. So it wasn't something that he said, but it was more of like the actions that he was displaying. Yeah,
that's powerful, man. And then kind of what did your mom add to the family dynamics?
My mom just the mom. The mom nature, just the glue to the family, keeping us together and making sure that after school we were fed and we were doing our homework before she went off to work, and so she was the one that always kept us. She was the one that gave us the messages. Okay. Yeah, I would say. What
was one of her messages that that's ingrained in your mind?
Always work hard.
Yeah.
Always work hard. Believe in yourself. A lot of times when we had doubts about anything that we were doing, she would inspire us and say, you could do it. Just believe in yourself. So absolutely. She was the one that was the motivator of the family, because she was around more, and she saw us within our daily as she's making food for us and chatting with us about our days and all that. And so she was the one that would have those conversations with us.
I love that, man. Yeah. That's cool. All right, so let's touch on kind of like your transition from high school into college. I know that you got a bachelor's in human development and family studies. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And then you already mentioned your master's degree, which is in student affairs and higher education. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Cool. So let's talk about kind of like, where did you go to college? Let's talk about, you know, the bachelor's degree years. So where did you go to college? Why did you choose to study what you studied? And then just kind of what was that college life like for you for those 4 years?
Yeah. So for me, I went to Colorado State University
Okay.
in Fort Collins. And that's where I also stayed for my master's, Colorado State University. So I was there for 6 years, finished my bachelor's in 4 and then my master's in 2.
Cool.
And that was kind of my mentality, get in, get out.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Okay.
Because college is expensive, so I don't want to stay any longer.
Right.
But luckily I was able to graduate I was able to stay in college all 6 years and graduate without any debt.
Cool.
So,
wow.
Yeah, I definitely grind and worked jobs to make that happen. And so I pursued human development and family studies as my choice of major because, kind of like I said, just inherent in who I am. I love studying the development of human beings, you know, and, you know, thinking about my assimilation to the American culture and just my family dynamics and just learning about different family dynamics and how people, you know, growing up with a single mom or growing up in a single dad and how that has an influence in your life. I wanted to study those intricacies.
Yeah.
So I can understand people and, you know, when you think about psychology, understand psychology from that aspect, but not from a psychological lens, but from a human development and family studies lens. And so that's kind of why the book that I shared, I love that book because it educates me further about how, you know, trauma can impact you and who you are as a human being when you have kids. And so that kind of tells you my mindset and what I value. I value things that will help me understand human beings so I can have genuine conversations with people.
Wow, that's cool, my man. Now, you mentioned kind of just like, you know, graduating with no debt. So that's a huge accomplishment right there.
Yeah.
And you kind of mentioned you did a bunch of different jobs. Was there kind of like one job that you had for the majority of those college years, or was it really just kind of all over the place?
I would say it's more on the offsets. Offsets being the holidays.
Okay.
So during the holidays, a lot of the times when I was in college, I wouldn't spend the holidays with my family. I would go work in Vail, just washing dishes.
Okay.
Like 12-hour jobs, 13-hour jobs, and just doing any job that I can find to save money. And so that's how I was kind of able to pay for college while I was going through college.
Right.
I had scholarships as well, not enough to give me a full ride, but whatever the amount was left that I needed to pay on the offsets of like spring break and holidays, I would find jobs that I can grind and work and save up.
Was there like a professor or somebody, an individual, kind of within those first 4 years of college that had a powerful impact on your life?
Yeah, there are many. With the type of person that I am, I just gravitate to people, and so if someone's very inspiring or someone has a mindset that I really love on their outlook on life, I just gravitate to them and then ask them to mentor me. And so I can't really say one because I feel like if I say one, all the other ones will get mad at me. If and when they listen to this podcast. So I did have a lot of mentors who were inspiring. You know, Mark Ben is a inspiring person to me that I'm connected to, and he was one of my professors back in the day. Dr. Larry Bloom, and he is the father of Jeremy Bloom. And so he was also very inspiring to me, and he was my psychology professor back at CSU. I had a lot of mentors from Kate Wormus to Siri Newman. Like the list can go on of people that were inspiring to me and made an impact on me. And all those people kind of saw that, one, I was a focused student, and then two, I had a mindset, you know. Like I said, during the holidays, I would go and work just to save money, where most people, you know, would spend time with family. I still value my time with my family, and I talk to them often, but I also knew that in terms of my life, I'm an independent person, and I had to do what I can. So, you know, I'm not relying on my family because they also have to do what they can to take care of themselves. And so as I was growing into my adult years, I started moving towards how can I start providing for myself and not rely on my family to do that. And so that's what all my mentors appreciated in me, is that I had that mindset of, yo, this kid's actually living life, and he's a grown-ass person.
Yeah.
Whatever age I was, just my mentality and my maturity was super impressive to them. And so I also gravitated to them and how they were able to coach me and recognize my mindset and kind of lead me in different paths to where I am today.
Awesome. Now, when you kind of like are, connecting with people or just kind of out and about living your life, Mawule, what is like maybe a trait or some traits that, attract you specifically to another individual? And I'm not necessarily talking about like an intimate relationship, but just in general, like all of us kind of have like, those a trait or traits when we're just kind of living our life that somebody else possesses, and we're like, dang, like, I wish I could be like that, or I really respect that person because they have that trait or those traits, or they handle themselves or carry themselves a specific way. What is maybe a trait or a few traits that really cause you to take notice of an individual?
Yeah, I think for me, one of the biggest things is ambition. I gravitate with people who have ambition, and ambition in the sense that people want to do something to change this world. It's not out of greed, or it's not out of a will to coerce people or anything, but people who have ambition and a vision for doing something to change this world. And so that's what gravitates me to people, and it gravitates me to people is because I love hearing their story, and I love what led them to create that vision or form that vision or have that vision. And so when I find that, and people in that vision have a direction for what they want to do, and an insight on how exactly it's going to change the world of people that they come across, it motivates me. To hear people with those stories. And so that's a factor that really gravitates me to individuals.
Cool, man. I appreciate you sharing that. That's great. Yeah. Now, let's talk about then kind of those 2 years at CSU in pursuit of your master's degree. What were those 2 years like? Were you still kind of doing the hustling and the grinding kind of on the breaks?
Yeah.
Did things maybe change a little bit there, or was it pretty similar to the bachelor's pursuit? What was the master's years kind of, what did that entail?
Yeah, master's years was exciting because I think for me, human development, again, was what I studied in my undergrad. And so my master's was really just focused on the college environment and learning how to help students succeed within their college years. And so my master's was in higher student affairs and higher education. And so for me, it was very transformative to really think about everything that I had learned in those 4 years and be able to look at a student, hear their background story, and kind of have an understanding of what their challenges was going to be, from different lenses of identity to intersectionality of how their upbringing or how their family structure and how all of that was impacting them. It was really awesome to be able to say how, to be able to learn how I can be of a supportive system to help them flourish in the college environment, no matter what their background or challenges or obstacles might have been. And so my 2 years in my master's program was awesome because I was learning with different colleagues who were also going to enter the field to support students the best way that they could. And so, my master's was a blast. It was a blast for me, and I wasn't grinding as much because I had an assistantship where my master's was getting paid for.
Awesome.
And so all I had to do was show up and learn and be a professional to students. And so I wasn't grinding as much. So yeah, during my master's time, I got to spend more time with my family during the holiday times. But I was always working on music.
Sweet. Now, what was before we kind of transition into some things that you have going on at this point in your life? What was kind of that moment? When you got your bachelor's degree, when you graduated, and then when you graduate with your master's, what were those two moments like for you personally?
Yeah, I think a lot of times when you start things, you're always gonna have doubts, right? Can I really do this? or how am I gonna do this? And so for me, when I finished with my bachelor's, I was like, holy crap, I did it. You know, I have a college degree. Then you start thinking about the statistics as a person of color of how many start college and don't finish, and you know, so all those things come to your mind. And so I think mentorship is important within my stepping stones that were very important to helping me get there. And so just reflecting on how I was able to do that and accomplish it, and the people who touched my lives and the people whose lives I touched was like one of those moments that I reflected on. You know, when it comes to my master's degree, I think a similar thing at that point, I was like, I knew I could do it. And at that point, I've gained the confidence and I know enough to say whatever academia or rigorous things were coming my way, I could do it. It's just a matter of, you know, being focused, being mindful about what I wanted to gain out of the experience. So I wasn't missing anything.
Right.
And so when I did that, I was like, all right, cool. What's next?
For sure.
What's next for me? I have a college degree. I have a master's degree. What's next for me? I want to get my PhD at some point. But it was an exciting moment to say, all right, cool. Now I have these things. I got to do something with it.
For sure.
Because I don't want to just say, you know, I have a master's degree, but I'm not doing anything with it. It happens to a lot of people as they transition fields. But for me, I wanted to do something with my master's. I wanted to make an impact. So that's what I kind of do now too, working in higher education. I work at University of Denver as an associate director of residential education, and so I get to work with college students, and I also get to work with different professionals and train and develop people that enter the field.
So I was going to transition to that, and you did it for me, so I appreciate that. So just explain. You kind of gave like the title or whatever in regards to Denver University, what you do there, but just kind of like expound a little bit, dig a little bit deeper, Mawule, in regards to what you do specifically at Denver University and what all of that entails.
Yeah, so at DU in my role, I supervise 5 resident directors, and resident directors are master's degree obtained higher ed professionals who work in residence halls and oversee the residence halls. So I think the easiest way to explain it is like a college dorm.
Yeah.
We don't really like to refer it as a college dorm because a dorm is not a place you go and learn. A residential living space is where you go and learn. And so we like to call them residence halls and dormitories. And so, so I oversee resident directors who oversee residence halls. I train and develop them, evaluate them, make sure they're doing what they can to support students as well as the resident assistants that they oversee. So part of my role is making sure that the day-to-day we have things in place to support our staff and to support our students. And so that's kind of what I do within my day-to-day is supporting our team. We have about roughly 92 resident assistants, and so these are student staff that are full-time students and then also work within our communities to support first-year students, second-year students, third and fourth-year students all across campus. And so I kind of co-supervise those students as well, making sure that they're having a good working experience, they're staying on top of their academics, and you know, whatever we can to support them in their educational pursuit, we do that. We also have graduate students that we work with, and so we have 7 within our department, and then they co-supervise the resident assistants. So overall, I have oversight of all those different personnel levels and doing what I can to make sure that at every level we're training and developing all those professionals to, with the end goal being providing support for students so we can help make sure that the college experience is very flourishing for them. And then any challenges that they're having, we're leading them to resources to help support them.
On a side note, I've got I won't tell the full story, but I've got a story about my resident director's husband at my second school, my sophomore year in college. I almost got kicked out of school for partying, and it was the RD's husband that busted me. But that's for another time. So I'm very familiar with RDs and their spouses and all of that good stuff. But now I want to touch on, because like you just mentioned all the people that you oversee, which that is so cool. So you are legitimately in a leadership position, right? Yeah. So in regards to kind of leadership and more specifically team building or building a team, how do you approach that?
For me, I think it goes back to the nature is getting connections, knowing the people that I'm working with. And that's always been my foundation. I think, like, if I were supervising you and I didn't know who you were or your background or what you want to achieve or what you're doing this job for, it's a lot easier for me to support you. It's a lot harder for me to support you if I don't know who you are.
For
and
sure.
why you're here or why you're doing this, So you might be doing it for your family. You might be doing it because this is your next stepping stone to your next career, what you really want, So it's important for me to know that. And so within my leadership, I try to know every aspect of the people that I work with and what they're here for and what they're doing this, and understand them from that lens. Also knowing that there's a job description that needs to be fulfilled. Everyone has their own strategies to how they fulfill those job descriptions, because some people might be good at relationship building, some people might be good at developing projects, whatever that might look like. And so I try to figure out what their areas of strengths and areas of development is, and I fuel it the best way that I can. And so that's kind of inherent within how I lead, is knowing my people and knowing how I myself can provide them resources to succeed.
I like that, man. That's good. Now, how does mindset, so I'm a firm believer that mindset is everything.
Yeah.
Like everything in life. I don't care. I mean, if it's the spiritual side of things, the physical side of things, the academic side of things, business, whatever.
Yeah.
And as I have more life experiences, I am just becoming a stronger proponent of mindset is everything, right?
Yeah.
So for you personally, just as you are very elegantly, unpacking your story and sharing your story, Mawule, the kind of that mindset is just something you haven't really talked about it a lot, but that is something that's very prevalent as you're sharing your story to me personally. That's kind of one takeaway already. It's kind of like you've got that mind that is set, right? So for you personally, kind of like, how does that mindset, play a powerful role in your day-to-day life? And then how do you take the importance of mindset and then, relay that to your team members or the people that you are leading?
Yeah. I think going back to a question that you asked earlier is like, what also gravitates me to people? It is their mindset.
The mindset, yeah.
It is the mindset, because for me, I'm an optimistic person,
For sure.
and that's one of my mindsets. When I am going through some challenging things, a lot of the times when I get caught up in the negative side of it, I always try to shift and think about, what's my mindset? How am I going to take this negative thing that's happening to me, and really shift it into a positive experience? Like within that positivity and that, the growth that can be learned, that can be witnessed, or the growth that can be made from that experience, I always try to focus on, what is that mindset that I want to have on what's happening, so I can be present in the opportunities that I can gain. And so I think for me, my mindset is always optimistic. That's always my mindset. And when I talk about even what I'm doing right now, as you can see on my Instagram, is that every day I'm doing something regarding fitness. And that was a mindset that I set for myself going into this new year. And I actually started it before the new year, because my mindset was that I don't want to be one of those individuals that says, oh, this is my New Year's resolution, is to say I want to do something active or something fitness related every day.
Love
and so
that.
my mindset was, I want to start this habit now, so when I go into the new year, it's already a habit of mine. I'm not into the new year saying, I failed on my New Year's resolution or whatever. And so my mindset was, I want to start this now, because if I have this mindset that I want to be more active, I want to be more present in my day, I want to be more spiritually, cognitively aware, I got to do something now. So I'm figuring out how I can improve what is working, what is not working. So in the new year, I know how I'm adapting. And so that was a mindset that I set for myself. And so in really all aspects of my life, there is some sort of mindset that drives how I'm being aware, how I'm being in tune, and how I'm being cognitively and physically and spiritually challenged.
And then so you take that personal mindset, and is that something that you share with your team members and the people that you're leading, or is it kind of like what your dad did for you, just leading by example and having that optimistic, positive outlook and mindset from the day to day?
Yeah, it is something that I share with my team, and I think sitting within the leadership at the leadership level, and then also having experiences under my belt, it's a mindset that I'm able to share with my team in the sense of helping them reframe whatever they're going with. And so if I have a staff member coming to me and talking about a different experience that they might be having with a staff member or whatever that might be going on, I like to give them a different mindset and a different way to reframe. And so a lot of the times I like to ask them questions and say, why do you think this is coming up for them? Instead of this person's not doing their job, I'm always like, why do you think this is coming up? With what you know of the individual, share some things with me of what you think might be going on. Because I think a lot of the times, if I'm not doing good at my job, it's not that I'm not competent in it. It's just that sometimes there might be life experiences that's happening that's preventing me from doing that.
Absolutely.
And if I don't have the supportive systems or the coaching or, in terms of supervision, if my supervisor is not finding a way to help me alleviate that, right? And that's not really the job of an employer, but I think a good employer is the one that will see you for just like you not completing a job description, but you as a human being and you also having a life outside of what you're here to do. And so for me, the mindset that I like to really instill in my team is like, let's really critically think about the individual. What do we know is going on in their life right now that's might be presenting these challenges? Because if we can address that and find some way to support them there, then we won't have this issue right now.
For sure.
Or then we can know what stepping tools and stepping stones we need to provide on their way to help them address that and also flourish in the job that they're doing now. And so that's the mindset or the reframing that I like to present to my team, and really the area that I like to challenge them is to really think of their individuals as more than just someone who's fulfilling a job description, but a human being who also has a life outside of this job.
That's good, man. I like that. Now, what has been one, let's say in 2019, last year, what was one challenge that came up in your life personally that you had to work through, you had to break through, you had to maybe shift that mindset so that you could learn and continue to move on in your life?
I think for me it's just like balancing music as a full-time musician, balancing the demands there, the demand to always be performing, the demand to release music, the demand to do interviews, the demand to stay relevant as a musician. So having that demand, and then also working a full-time job at the University of Denver, where I'm also responsible for not only the job performance, but the experience of my quote-unquote employees, balancing that was difficult. And then also having turnover, and then trying to work through hiring to fill the position while also doing the job myself on top of my own job, so we can keep things afloat. I think the challenging thing for me was like realizing that I was struggling, right? And recognizing that right now I'm struggling and I need to experience it. And so I think that was the thing that made me learn, is that a lot of times when we're struggling, we want that quick fix, right? Because we want things to get better.
Right.
And so I recognized, and I was like, I'm going through the thick and toughness right now. I'm gonna go through it. Let me just do it. Let me experience it. Let me go down through the gutter, let me stay there and let me experience it. Because just trying to look for that quick fix wasn't helping. In fact, just looking for the quick fix, whether that might be, all right, cool, I'm gonna go on a 5-mile run right now just so I can get my mind off of things, sometimes didn't help, because I wasn't reflecting on how I can think about what I needed to do to really find that balance. I kept looking for quick fixes of like how I can stay mentally sane, and it wasn't working. And so I was like, fuck it. Yeah. And excuse my language.
No, you're good.
Let me just go through it.
Yeah.
Let me just go through it. Let me experience it. And through that, let me figure out how I can find that balance by being in that dark place.
So basically, just feel it, right? Just feel it.
Just feel it.
Yeah, yeah.
Just feel it. Yeah.
I've had a handful of guests on the podcast that they use that terminology, like they say just feel it, and I can relate kind of to what you're sharing in regards to your story, and that's something I'm the type of person, I'm very type A, and it's like, I just want to run through the brick wall. I don't want to think about anything. I don't want to reflect. I just want to keep running, run through the brick wall, figure it out, whatever. But, I wrote that down. I wrote down feel it as you were kind of just, unpacking that and describing that, because that's something I know personally right now in my life that I can do a better job of. So thank you for touching on that.
Yeah, no problem.
For sure. Now, you mentioned the music. So we've already been going for 50 minutes, which that's crazy, dude. Sometimes you just get into
great conversation.
That flow state of great conversation. And it's like I look over at my laptop, I'm like, 50 minutes. I'm like, that's crazy. And we haven't even gotten to what you're doing outside of Denver University right now. And as I introduced you as a musician and songwriter, and you mentioned that. So the rest of our time, I really want to talk about your gift, and I would probably guess that you would say it's a type of a calling as well. So where did kind of the whole music thing come on the scene for you? And then just kind of did you continue to sing and to write and all that throughout college and things like that? And then we'll kind of touch on what you've got going on currently.
So my dad's a minister.
Okay, cool.
And so, growing up, you hear the story a lot of when you grow up in a church family, then, the gospel choirs where you start or where you picked up music and all of that. And so that is very similar to my story.
Cool.
I was always in the church, and because I'm always in the church, music is inherently something that I enjoyed, specifically gospel music. Just something about the soul, that the feel that you get when you listen to gospel music, for me, is something that I really gravitated to. And so it kind of transitions to me always singing, and me always singing led to me wanting to write music, and just coming up as I'm walking to school or whatever that might be, just singing, and so that's how it started for me. It's just I realized that, wow, I actually like to sing. I like to write lyrics and all of that. And so that's how it started. At the age of 13, I would say, was when I really decided, let me do something with my music. And I think for me, a lot of the times, and even now with the music that I write, it's if I go on Spotify and I'm feeling something, if I'm feeling it, and I'm looking for a type of music and I can't find it, I tell myself I want to write it, And so that's what kind of led to the type of music that I wrote, is just being very involved in how I was living my life and very aware and very observant. I said, let me just write about life. Let me write about what is real about life. And, from conversations that I was having with my friends and peers and issues that they were going through, I always wanted to write music that was motivating and that was encouraging. And that's what a lot of my music is founded in. And that's what a lot of people say, is that when they listen to my music, they found it very inspiring and very motivating, because I write about real things. And so I focus on issues that are real to life. So, I have a particular song that really inspires and really advocates for anyone that's been through issues of sexual assault and all of that. And so I have a song that really talks about that experience, from things that I've been a part of and things that friends have shared with me about going through that experience. So my music is very much very inspiring and very motivating, and it's all really stemmed from it's all connected to my upbringing. It's connected to what I study.
Right.
It's connected to how I see the world. And so I try to write music that's really real and people can reflect on and people can really relate to.
Now, this specific song called Anything, as I was, I listened to the song, I listened to Black is Beautiful, and then I also listened to, is it called Mirror Mirror?
Mirror Mirror.
Yeah, I listened to those three specifically, but the one that I noticed you got some accolades for, you got some awards and things like that, was the song Anything. So what is that song specifically about? And then what did it kind of do for you in regards to getting some of that acknowledgement and those awards?
Yeah. So anything was truly inspired by my parents' upbringing, and so the song talks about how essentially money doesn't mean a thing if you have people around you that love you and care for you. Like those are the things that you should really value.
Yeah.
And so I wrote that song as a dedication to my parents, because just listen to my story. My parents definitely grind a lot during their time to provide for my siblings and I. And so me growing up, I learned to value that. I learned to value to live minimally. So I'm a minimalist. I don't own a lot of things, but I own quality things. And so for me, it's more about the memories with my friends and my family. And so when I wrote that song as a dedication to them, and I wanted to shoot a music video that inspired and shed a light on essentially fatherhood and motherhood as well too. It's just like parenthood, people that grind for their family. And so I think the music video did well because I worked with at the time she was very young. This was her first music video that she directed. Her name's Mia Janae, and she works out in LA right now with PlayStation. But I saw a commercial that she did for my brother, and she never shot a music video before, but I saw the commercial and I saw her lens. I saw her creativity. And so from that creativity, I reached out to her and I said, hey, I want to work with you. I have a storyline for this song that I produced, and I want to get your experience and I want to get your insight on it, and potentially I would like you to direct it because I think you have a creative lens. And so I pitched the idea to her and I said, I want a story that sheds light on single fathers who don't get a lot of credibility but give a lot to their family. And so that was the storyline that we used for the video. And so from that storyline, I think when we pitched that video and sent that video to film festivals, it really resonated with people. Is because I had a 3-year-old that played my daughter, and it was my friend's daughter, but she was super cute and super awesome, and yeah, she played my daughter in the video. And so we built a storyline to really highlight just what parenthood can really look like and what it can really mean when your family is the focus for what you do or for the struggle that you go through. You're doing it for your family. And so I think I've received a lot of accolades for that video because the story resonated with people.
That's cool. That's cool. Now, I want you to touch on the song "Black Is Beautiful" as well. What is kind of like the meaning behind that song and that video as well, please?
Yeah. So "Black Is Beautiful." I wrote "Black Is Beautiful" during the time when, as a nation, we were experiencing all the killing of black children. So "Black Is Beautiful," we published "Black Is Beautiful" back in I think 2015, I believe. And so there was a lot going on in the media at that time of black men just getting gunned down in public as well. And essentially for me it was like modern day lynching. And so for me it was very triggering as a black male, and also being gone through instances where I've been racially profiled. I wanted to put out a song that was very meaningful and highlighted black pride black pride within identity, because I think a lot of the time sometimes those things can get you down when you're every day you turn on the news, you're seeing another person of color getting gunned down. And so I reached out to 2 activists who are also musicians within the Colorado music scene, Bianca McCon as well as Il7, Michael Acuna. And I reached out to them and I said, hey, I have a really powerful song that I really want to put out right now because I think it's needed. And both of them were very much artivists, not activists, but artivists. And so I shared my idea with them. I had already written the first verse as well as had ideas for the chorus. And I reached out to them and I said, hey, would you all want to collaborate on this song and put out this message? And so they did that. And the song was amazing. We were really excited with how it came out. And so then I reached out to my friend Garrett Hayes, who is the owner of Square Visions, which is like a multimedia company. And at the time, Garrett was building out this company, and he was someone that I also went to Colorado State with, and a friend that I really valued, and had never shot a music video before. And so this was something that I was very excited for as well, for him to take on this project. And so, yeah, it was amazing. If you've seen the video, you can see that it looks amazing.
Right,
and you can never tell that was his first music video.
For sure, yeah.
Because of the quality of the video. And so that, again, just goes back to how I like to work with my friends and also kind of promote their talent and my belief in their talent as well.
So kind of what is the future then for you in regards to music? Like you have, because you spoke on earlier about, the importance of having goals and looking into the future, but now you're practicing or working on being very present in the moment. So in regards to kind of like a goal musically and professionally in that sense, what is that goal? Do you have a specific goal?
Yeah. So my specific goal, I have a lot lot of goals.
Yeah, that's good. I love it.
I'm very ambitious. One of my goals is a program that I developed. It's called More Than Music, and it's essentially an entertainment platform where it combines dialogue and music performance. And so I've got to conduct that program at a corporate level, at a high school, as well as the college level and the middle school as well. And so my goal is to in the future is to do more of that type of show, More Than Music. And I really built More Than Music as a way to help people, like an audience, for example, really talk about life, and I really started that because every time when I do a lot of shows, people are coming to listen to my music, and people a lot of times will stop me and say, hey, this song that you performed really touched me. And when people share that, there's something about my song that's really touching them, and it could be like things that they're experiencing within their life. And so I created a platform for people to talk about that real things that they're going through. And so it's essentially me performing, asking critical questions, posing it to the audience, and then they get to talk to whoever's sitting next to them about it. And it's a 90-minute show, and it's a music concert, but an interactive music concert.
Wow.
And so I wanna do more tours with More Than Music around the world. And so that's a goal of mine. And another is I wanna build. Well, I already have. Essentially, I just solidified it last night. Mawule Music Group, which is my own publishing, record label, marketing, advertising, and promotional agency. And so within that, I've learned so much about how I can really succeed within artistry and not have to go on tour and exhaust myself and not be present with my family. And so I created an agency that can help others do the same, kind of learn how to generate revenue and really pursue their artistry the way that they want, outside of what people feel like you need to do it to be successful, like signing a record label to a record label and all of that. And so I want to build that agency to teach people how they can be successful. And so my goal is to still continue to do what I do in promoting my work, but find a way to help others do the same.
Cool. Do you have any of the More Than Music shows or anything like that coming up in the Denver area for 2020 on the schedule?
Not on the schedule right now.
Okay.
Not on the schedule right now, but if people follow me on any of my social medias at Music Mawule, a lot of the times I share all of that.
Okay, cool.
When I get those opportunities. And so those opportunities, I don't actively go out searching for them, but because I have it, I've often done it upon request. And so when companies come to me or people come to me when through word of mouth, they hear about More Than Music and they want More Than Music because they want to do it for their company to help their company members develop or interact at a deeper level. That's when I've gotten those bookings. And so because I know it's a side of my business that I don't really have to. If I promote, I will get more business. Right. But I want it. I value it more when it's upon request. It definitely inspires me and fuels me to get those type of bookings upon request because it tells me that people want to engage on a deeper level. So I don't have any on the books, but I will.
Cool, for sure. Now, when it comes to actually writing music or writing lyrics, is there a specific mindset that you kind of like have to get into?
Yeah.
Do you go to like the mountains? Like what is kind of like, or is it like, you know, you're in the shower and like words, lyrics just kind of pop up in your head? What is the actual, you know, pen to paper in regards to writing those songs or writing lyrics look like for you specifically?
It's different.
Okay.
Yeah, there's really no concrete way that, yeah, like I think there's some musicians that have like a particular strategy,
Right.
or
Yeah.
a particular routine.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, sometimes it's odd. Sometimes you can find me walking around the grocery store and just singing, and as I'm doing that, my voice memo is on.
Yeah,
And
that's
recording everything that I'm singing. And so sometimes when I'm driving, I'm singing. And when I'm doing any of that, I'm like, oh, let me turn my voice memo on. And so I'm putting that on. Sometimes I catch myself when I'm singing and not knowing it. And people are looking at me and like, what's happening? And so for me, it just comes naturally. It just comes authentically. If there's like a particular issue that I really want to write about, I think that's when, in terms of that strategy, I sit down and say, okay, cool, I know I want the focus to be social justice, or I want the focus to be heartbreak, I want the focus to be this, that. That's when I would really sit down and say, okay, cool, how do I want to paint a picture? And a lot of times for me, I think about how I want a music video to look, and that's what really starts how I paint that picture on the paper in terms of lyrics. Is if I were to imagine a music video, how would I want you to watch a music video and be inspired by a story that you're viewing? And that lens or mindset is what, if I'm like going to sit down and say, okay, cool, I'm gonna sit down and write this song, that is one mindset that starts me to say, okay, cool, here's what I want the verse 1 to look like, here's what I want the chorus to be, here's what I want the bridge to look like. So that's one mindset and one path that I write my music. But a lot of the times it's just me and my voice memo, random times, awkward times, just singing stuff, and then going back later on to write it down and then flush it out.
Cool. So can you sing like a verse right now for us?
Yeah. Now I need it, gotta let me know. Ain't trying to waste no time, no. 3 simple words, you should go. Pack your bags, please leave out that door. No time wasted, gotta waste the time.
Cool, man. There we go. That's the first, I don't even know what you call it. Is that like a verse or something? That's what you call it, right?
That's verse, yeah.
Yeah. First verse sung on the 127 Fit podcast, man. Good deal. All right, my man. So we've been going close to 70 minutes here, so we're going to start wrapping things up. One thing I do want to touch on, Mawule, is giving back. And specifically, I personally have a huge passion for, you know, passing the gift of fitness on to the next generation. I was a school teacher for the last 2 years. I love working with youth. It really sets my soul on fire, lights me up. Is that something that you find is a valuable part of your life, is giving back, and then, you know, more specifically even that, but, you know, really pouring into the next generation?
Yeah. So I do that a lot. I do a lot of mentorship. So currently, whenever students reach out to me and kind of are inspired by my story and want to get to where I am, I'm like, okay, cool, let's sit down. Let's see where you're at. And so I have, I would say, 5 active mentees at different level, from a college level, a high school level, a middle school level.
Wow,
that
cool.
want to pursue their music artistry. And so I'm coaching them through how to even get established as a musician. The administrative side of things, teaching them the business side of things, so they can make calculated and positive decisions for their life. And so I like to give back through mentorship. I also like to give back through finance whenever I can, helping fund people's projects or their marketing or promotions to help them succeed. And so for me, it really just goes back to, I give back in ways that I wish people would have poured into me. And so that's how I give back.
Cool. Before I ask the last question, I just want to kind of give you the opportunity, you know, to maybe share with myself, with the listeners, kind of to the world, what's maybe that one message, or maybe something that's really just heavy on your heart that you want to put out there in this present moment.
I think my thing right now that I really also hashtag a lot is living authentically. I think a lot of the times with what goes on in our life, sometimes we get so caught up that we forget to live authentically, or we forget how, for example, my lack of presence can impact somebody. For example, if I'm having a conversation, someone's sharing vulnerable things with me, and I'm not present within that conversation, how that can impact somebody, or their perception of me, or whatever that might look like. And so, one thing that I challenge my friends and a lot of people that are around me right now is like, if you feel like you're not living authentically, think about what's stopping you. Reflect on that and figure out how you can live authentically, whatever that means to you. You know, and so to me, that just goes back to being present in the day, and how I can live authentically within my day and within the people that I come across.
Cool.
Because that's how I start to notice the genuine nature of what makes us human beings. You know, if I feel like I'm living authentically and being true to who I am. So I challenge everyone to live authentically.
Cool. So the last question that I have for you, Mawule, is what sets your soul on fire?
Yeah. What sets my soul on fire is seeing my family and friends succeed. That's what sets my soul on fire.
What is that kind of outside of like kind of just setting your soul on fire? Like what does that personally mean to you?
To me, it means, so for example, it's like, you know, I have a lot of friends right now that have a lot of dreams. I have a lot of ambitions, and it sets my soul on fire to see and reflect on things that they told me and see them living it and see it happening for them. Whether that's a connection that I provided to them, or within our networking, or within our friendship, how our genuine nature and support for one another really helps us get to the next level. That sets my soul on fire. So for example, like friends coming to shows to support me or promoting my music, that sets my soul on fire. So me being able to do the same for them and watching things happen for them sets my soul on fire, because I genuinely believe in everyone. Like I said, what connects me and what gravitates me to people is that ambition.
Yeah.
And so when people share that ambition with me, and I see them living that ambition, and I see that ambition paying off for them, that sets my soul on fire.
Awesome.
To see people succeed.
Yeah.
Because I think ideally that's what makes people happy, is to see them, for you to live your dream, and for you to feel your passion and feel that fire within you, and doing something that impacts the world positively. And all my friends are doing things that are changing the world.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so to see that happening, or to even meet people who are impacted by people that I know positively, is exciting.
Cool.
You know?
Cool, man. I love it, dude. And I just want to thank you, Mawule, for sharing your story today. Thank you for just your authenticity, and you have a very powerful, beautiful aura about you. You got a very genuine smile, man, and I definitely am looking forward to kind of like just following your journey more through social media. I'm going to be connecting with the high school here in Edgewater, and just you talking about more than music. I think that would be something that I would love to try to get you into that high school specifically, right? So because I just know music is such we were talking about earlier, soccer being a powerful outlet. Sports is a very powerful outlet for kids. Fitness. There's all these reading, and there's a lot of different outlets. But I think universally, worldwide speaking, music is that number one outlet. To get messages across, to encourage, and all that type of stuff. So I just want to acknowledge you, man, for just your leadership and your passion to hear people's stories and connect with people, because not everybody understands the value of that. And it's really important for people to listen to other people, allow them to share their side of things, to allow them to share their story, and you get it. So I just want to acknowledge you for that, and I want to thank you for your time today.
No, thank you for reaching out and for making this happen.
For sure.
I think this is important. What you're doing is important, because stories that you capture on here are going to inspire people when they listen. And so thank you for making the time and dedication to do this.
You're very welcome. And before I kind of tie the bow, so to speak, on our conversation, if somebody wants to find out more about what you've got going on, if they want to, reach out to you in regards to mentorship and just maybe follow along on social media, where can people find out more about you?
My website, www.mawule, Mawule is spelled MAWULE.com, so www.mawule.com. Essentially, through my website, people can find me on any sort of social media because it's all connected on there. Perfect. Any sort of information. I'm sure you can tell Instagram is probably the one that I engage on the most. And so Music Mawule is my handle. I can be found on all social media at Music Mawule. And so, yeah, that would be the best way to reach me. And yeah, if people have students that they want to connect me with for mentorship and all that, I'm always open to helping people, man. So cool. Yeah, I'm always open to that.
Love it. All right, 127 Fit podcast listeners, once again, I appreciate you. I appreciate your listening ears and taking time out of your full schedules to hang out with Mawule and myself today on the 127 Fit podcast. If you would like to find out more about the guests that I'm bringing onto the podcast, or if you would like to find out more about myself personally, you can find that on Instagram at 127fit. Facebook is at Quentin Vars. LinkedIn is Quentin Vars. If you guys would do a huge favor and please leave a 5-star rating and review, and also subscribe to the podcast in iTunes or the Apple podcast app or wherever you are listening. 5-star rating, review, and subscribing is a huge help for more people to find the podcast and be positively impacted. If you are interested in taking your fitness and your health to the next level, I would love to set up a free 30-minute fitness phone consultation with you. If that is something you would be interested in, we will be discussing fitness goals, health goals, how we can really improve, that physical side of things in your life in 2020. If that's something you need, if that's something you're interested in, please send me a DM on Instagram, Facebook, or you can also send me an email. That email is 127fit@gmail.com. If you think you would be a great guest, or if you have a friend or an acquaintance you think would be a great guest or guest for the 127 Fit podcast, you can also send me an email or give this email out, 127fit@gmail.com. And as you guys are finding great value in a specific episode or episodes of the 127 Fit podcast, I would just ask another huge favor that you would take that specific episode or episodes that you're finding that value in and share it on your Facebook and Instagram stories using the hashtag #BeSomeoneToFollow. And per the usual, I will leave you with Proverbs 24:10, which states, "If you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small." This time, until next time, I will catch you guys later.